Okay, welcome back, Black Dragon Modern Combat. It's in the teens here, but hey, the show must go on. Thank you to the new subscribers. You can get a hold of me anytime if you have any questions, you want me to go over anything. We're going on this is the third video of the beginner weapon intro training. And I'm going to finish the figure eights. I have 12 figure eights that are part of the system. They get much more complex, but these are kind of complex unto themselves using the geometry. And so I want to do a little more explaining, and which may finally make some sense of what I'm doing and the angles that I'm working on. We're working on. Hopefully you're doing it too. So, okay, well, let me just do this first. So here's the florette that I pointed out before. And it's a conical thing. Here's where your hand would be. This is the back side of the collie stick, and then here's the bigger side. And I'm saying that if you're looking at this circular part and we cut it in half, at the halfway point, the diameter, you can, depending on which direction you're going, you either can come out of it upwards or downwards. And this would be, if we take this and look at here, we've been coming out of I'm not going to draw it, but we've been coming out of the back side. So if we take this circle and then turn it 90 degrees, so think of it anyways, just the way this is here. So we just place this right here. We look in bird's eye view. We either have a front, we'll call this the front, and this is the back node. And in that node, we can either come out top or bottom. So we've been doing that. I've been showing you to come out, the very first one, we're coming out top, it's heaven, going into the big circle, and coming out bottom, which would be earth, out of that node. It'll make more sense when I'm doing it. And so we've done both coming out upwards or downwards from this back part, going into the zeros. Okay, now we're going to, it's a little more wrist oriented. We're not going to do this, but we're going to come out on the front ones. And we're going to come out on the front ones, which are going to go, when we come out on them, they're going to go backwards or in reverse. Either from here, heaven, or this can go underneath, earth. So let me just do them. So this might be making it more complicated or less, but you can probably get it. So it's pretty simple geometry. So let me do it here. And you can use anything. Okay, you could just use your arm if you wanted to. But I've been using the collie stick. I'm not used to, like I said, I use it, I train, and train for years with collie stick, but it's so light that it's just light and it feels different. So I train with heavier weapons and more, I'll say more realistic, but there's nothing wrong with that. And if you buy those, that's good, and train with them and play with them. But this, once again, if you haven't heard me before, actually, if you haven't watched the videos, this may not make that much sense, but it could to some degree on what I'm doing. So I mean, you could just learn from this point forward, or learn this one and go back, but you may want to go back to the beginning, do the stretches, and anyway, start with number one. It's always good to start with number one. So I think I introduced myself. And hi, everyone. And so, as usual, which is interesting, I didn't think they would make this. This is a Cold Steel brand collie stick. So it's interesting. It actually has where it comes up to a little nub here, and there's a line, and it it looks like a blade of grass, which is what rattan is. So a bamboo, or it's a type of bamboo or grass. So it's shaped like it. So it goes up a little bit, comes down. So it's very interesting. This has some girth to it, has some weight, and it feels good. I like training with weight. It just, I'm used to it. And so the light stuff feels, it almost like wobbly to me. And so it's a good way to start, but you probably want to get out of it and go into something with a little more oomph to it. And so this would be one. I showed the wakizashi. This one is actually, it's a bit heavier. Some people have cut it off to make it like I think this is longer than 28 inches, pretty much. Well, yeah, it is, because that one is. So let me compare it here, just to show you real quick. Yeah, so there's a good 6 inches there. So this is decent. I don't think it's a yard, but it's pretty close. Anyways, and it has the good weight to it. So, but you want to go slow. If you get something heavy like this, you want to follow where it's taking you in movement. So you don't want to try to force something over it and you'll hurt yourself. So you want to follow. It's interesting when you work with something heavier, how you're following where the inertia is taking it. And so it's a very interesting feeling. I'll leave that at that. So to review, I was the very first thing we did was the Florette 90 degrees, and then here's that point where I came out, went forward, and then made the big zeros. Okay, and then if I go clockwise, at that same back point that I was pointing at, the X's, the back point, that's where we've been leaving. You can think of it that way. I'm leaving something. I'm leaving the Florette. Then I would come underneath. All right. So now we're going to work through the front points. So these are the back points. Because if I'm making a circle, remember there's 2 points if I'm cutting that circle in half of the cone. Here's the back node and the front node. So this is something you probably have never done or thought about. So if I'm going in a clockwise position, I'll move back a little bit. Clockwise position for my Florette, and I stop at the front, not stop at the back. So the tip is at the back here. I'm stopping at the front, then I can only go backwards. I can only go in reverse. So suddenly I'm moving in a reverse zero. So let me do that again. Clockwise, stop, horizontal point, and then 45 degrees behind. So I'm going from this side 45 degrees in front of me, but to the back side, the reverse side. So it looks like this. So 1, 2.5, and then now I'm on my left side, and I'm going to go counterclockwise, and then stop in front and go back. So when I'm exiting, okay, now I'm going to go clockwise with the Florette. This is a pretty big one. I'm making a big Florette here. Is that I'm going heaven first. Remember, this is the heaven Abiniko, and then underneath is the earth. And right when I get to half, 3/4 of the zero, or actually the full, almost you could say the full zero, because from here, this is different. I'm flipping my wrist. So I'm gonna go underneath all the way and flip my wrist. So I'll point this out again on my little drawing. I'm making 2 X's with the zeros, either this way or this way. And I'll point this down because I'm wearing white. So X this way, 45 degrees, and 45 degrees. So now I have multiple choices. Once I have this 45-degree zero, now am I going to start from the back side and go down? I'm going to start from the back side, go up. We've done that. Now I'm starting from the front point, from the Florette, and going behind. If you're confused, let me know, and we'll go over this again. And if you got it, let me know too. And so I'm cutting through. Now think if this part is the blade, I'm cutting to the rear. Doesn't always have to be that way, but you can think of it that way. Is if you have a blade, you're slicing to the rear, then underneath, I'm slicing to the front. So I'm going all the way through, slicing, and I have to flip my arm. So I'm flipping my arm, flipping my wrist, right here. And once I'm done with those 2.5, then I'm starting on the left side. I'm going counterclockwise. And then when I get to the front point, I'm going back. So if I had, again, if it was a blade, I'd be flipping it, and the blade part would be going, this is like with the samurai training, or the katana training, back. 1, 2, okay, and then back into my Florette. So I'm gonna go forward, coming out of the forward node, exit entry node, 1, 2, okay, my left Florette. And this is an interesting one because I'm coming from the front, turning back. It's different. Back. 2.5, and there I'm at my starting point again. One more time. Clockwise. And I decide from that front point that I'm going to go backwards. So it's very interesting. I'm doing something over here, but I'm going to cut back behind me. So there's footwork that goes with this and all that. Don't worry about it. Just turn your waist and think of maybe you're just striking someone behind your left shoulder. That's one way to look at it. So if I can strike from behind my left shoulder with an Abiniko, I got caught quick. Someone's coming. So, I'm going to hit back here. So I'm going to turn a little bit and strike this way. So I have to, what I was saying the other day is even make my hands on the ground, like low, and I have to set it up. That's a setup. Just a little turn is a setup so I can get in alignment with my strike back. Okay, so there's 1, 2, and then 2 florettes. And then, interesting, I'm going to shift my weight a little bit this way and cut back this way. With a stick, just don't worry about it. And one more time, and there I am. Okay, so what if I go here, I was going with the initial florette with my right arm and then clockwise. So if I'm going counterclockwise, but I stop at the front point, then I go low. I can only go low. So counter, and you can see that it spins and knocks down over here, and it brings me to the low strikes. I'm sorry, the low Abiniko, earth. And once I get to this point, I do 2. 1, 2. I'm going to circle in a counterclockwise position on the left. And I'm going down. Because you can just see when I swing underneath here, if I'm going to the rear point, that brings me forward. But as I swing, that little half swing or the smile, half moon, to the front, I'm swinging on an upward swing, and that sets me up to pull out of that point and strike backwards. It's kind of like, again, kind of like a back fist, kind of. 1, 2, and okay, so 1, 2. I'm sorry, I went the wrong way. So, I apologize. So, I'm going down. Circling here, down. Circling counterclockwise, downwards. This was a downward. So here, I can only get so far and I have to flip and over. Down, flip, over, down. So you can flip right on the horizontal line as you're making a 0. So if you're just working on the 0, go, this guy's confusing, I don't get it. If you're just swinging and making a perfect vertical, you're gonna have to flip your wrist and find a strong position here. It doesn't have to be tight, but it's structural. There has to be some structure, your alignment. I already went over all that, so go back and look at that, the earlier videos. So once again, I'm going behind here to a low strike this way and flipping upwards at the horizontal, right, where the collie sticks at the horizontal line. And when I'm done with that, do 100 of these, I go, okay, now I'm going to, from here, go once again into my florette. So the only way, if it is confusing, is just to do these. And then think about, like I said, I made a circle and I drew the center line, the diameter, right? See, I remembered. Right across that center. So do it yourself, because maybe if you write it down, then I go, oh, now it makes sense. Excuse me. So draw a circle, put a line through it, and put do a node at each end where of the line. And then draw an arrow upwards and downwards on both sides. So you have 4 choices when you're doing these florettes. Any florette. Okay, we're just doing this to understand much more advanced ideas. So I'm just holding this, staying in this, I guess you could say this realm of just making it the florette on the right or on the left. Remember, I was showing you earlier, we can do these where they're all over the place. There's infinite. Wherever these circles are infinite, and within that circle, you can pull out of it. You can pull out and do something. Okay, so I can come underneath, wham, strike here. I can do a circle, maybe striking the inside of someone's foot. It's low, and then follow that up. And the not inertia. Well, it is inertia. Use that word again. Connect. No, that's not the word I'm looking for, but there's a word I'm looking for. That comes out of this, I'll just say that, is pretty amazing. You're following a natural line. You're following, we'll just say that. We'll say it's, there's other ideas I have behind that, but nature likes going in a circle. Even when I feel like I'm going straight, I'm not really going straight here because it is circular. It's a circular strike coming around like this. So that's the number 1 strike. And that's what we're going to go over next. So what I was saying is you have four places. You have 2 choices of going clockwise or counterclockwise, and then out of the counterclockwise or clockwise direction. It's cold, so my brain is shutting down. I know I'm a little ditzy sometimes, but now I'm really ditzy. And so I'm going through this. In one direction, I have 2 choices on what we're doing, this figure 8. And if I go to the back one, it's going to go low into the 0. But if I go to the front one, right here, it goes high. It's an interesting, you could crack it. So be careful as you come, you're bringing the weapon towards you, in a sense, and across in a 45-degree direction. So I have 2 choices when I come out of one direction. 2 choices out of one direction. If I go the other direction, and this will show us all 4 of the figure 8s, BDMC figure 8s, is that I'm going, if I go to the rear one here, which is the very beginning one we did, brings us to the forward. Okay, so counterclockwise, and I come out of this point here and strike forward. And if I go counterclockwise to the front, and this is what we're doing today, that brings it low. It's the only direction, because you're coming from behind, you're going up and over the hill and down, and now we're in a downward trajectory. Big word for me. Okay, so if I go whatever direction I decide on, that's it. It's nature. You can only really go one way or the other way. One way or the other way. Clockwise, counterclockwise. So that's where it becomes, even this, to me, it gets much more complex, but this is complex enough of, if I'm making a circle one way, where am I coming out of? Where am I going low? If I want to go low, I have to make a circle and low from behind in a clockwise position or clockwise direction. If I want to go high from in front of myself, which is a very interesting tactic, I have to also make the decision of, which you have to know without knowing. You can't think about it, of this. That's just how you're going to preset yourself to get into that point, to go reverse, or even like to a low. Let's say I want to go to a low strike in front on my right. I'm going to come up all the way over and around. Even if you're just here and you twist your wrist, you're doing the same thing. If I'm here and I go, well, I'm going to strike low, well, it's the same thing as that. Is I twisted it, set it up, and came around. Now, If you get better at it, you're going to be much more accurate. And that's why I say this comes out of the katana training, which has to be accurate. Everything does. But I think there's a little leadway in some things. In some things you might be, well, I don't have to be so, I shouldn't say that. I think you should always work on precision accuracy. But, yeah. So, yeah, we'll leave it at that. So, 2 directions give you 2 options. Okay, have we beat that horse alive? Have I? I think I have. And again, it's super cold, so the brain's shutting down. But I want to get these videos out. So, yeah, that's it on the figure 8s. And we are going to go into, and I'm going to do it tomorrow, the number 1 and 2 strike. Then we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 12 strike combination. And then we're going to do more of the applying it to application. Okay, and everything is going to be with a single weapon. And again, you can use a collie stick. You can do anything you want. Something in your hand. You can even do like a water ball. It doesn't matter. But I do suggest working with a stick, something a bit longer, and then you can kind of see it better, and it's a little more. You're working with something where you have to understand the distance, and you don't want to hit yourself, and it hits something else. So, yeah, if you really don't want to get something else, you could pick anything up and work with it, but it's kind of funky. So I do suggest at least find a stick or a branch or something if you don't want to, purchase something. But it's just not that bad. You can, these aren't that bad. Stuff is still within reason as far as spending money. All right, so thank you for watching this, and I will be back tomorrow, no matter what. Looks like it's going to snow here, but so I'll still be out here doing this. All right, take care and have a nice evening. Bye-bye.